Greetings, Human Physiology Lab. I wanted to do a video of how to create some of the figures that you're going to need to put into your lab reports. So what I've done is I've pulled up some old blood glucose lab data, and I'm going to create a chart out of this table. Right. So first, what we've done here is we've collected data from multiple labs. You can see that it's divided into water data and sugar data. The sugar is the 15% sucrose. So first I'm going to clean up this data a little bit because I'm going to have to compile it all together. So I'm going to make just call that group. So I have 0 minutes, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, and 105 minutes. Next, I'm going to delete some things. I'm going to delete those rows. I'm going to delete these rows. I'm just getting all the data together. Delete those rows and delete these rows. Getting all of my data together. One more little grouping here. Delete these rows. All right, there's nothing in this row, so I'm going to delete it. Nothing in this row, so I'm going to delete it. Then I can see I have a couple of funky data points here where apparently the students just decided not to measure all the way to the bitter end. So to make things easier, I'm just going to delete those data points because I don't trust them. And I'm going to delete those. And that's a perfectly valid thing to do, to throw out data. Usually in your write-up then you want to say why you threw out certain data points, and I could just simply point out that there were apparently 2 students who did not complete the assignment. So next we're going to sort this. So I'm going to go up to data and then sort, and my data has headers. So I want to sort by the group and click OK. So now I have all of my sugar groups together and all of my water groups together. I don't really care that I have multiples of each, but I do want to put in, all right, a little space in between my sugar and my water. So I just right mouse clicked and inserted a space between sugar and water. All right, so what am I going to want to graph on this? I don't want to graph all this individual data. It's crazy looking. So what I want to do is I want to take the averages of my sugar group and the averages of my water group. So I'm going to grab my headings here and I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to paste it. Okay. All right, and so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and it was actually 15% sucrose, and I'm going to figure out the averages for each of those. So how do I do that? I have to set up a formula. So I want to take the average, so that's equal average, right? And I could just simply double click on the average, and that's going to come up for me, and it's going to allow me to select a range. So I'll double click that, and you'll notice it put in a little open parentheses. Now I have to select my range. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of my sugar group and all the way up to the top of my sugar group, and I've selected that range, and now I have to close my parentheses. So close my parentheses and enter. Right. So that is telling me the average for that range. What I want to do is I want to put that average in for all the rest of my groups. Right? So I'm going to copy that. So Control C and Control V. There we go. So now you can, if you look up here, it's telling me I'm taking the average for that group. So it's the same average, but it's 1 over. So I know it's for the 15-minute group. And then Control V, and you can, if you look, you can see that it's selecting the correct average. And I'm going to do that for all of my groups. And again, you can go over, you can look at what it's doing and actually confirm that it's taking the correct average. And I need to scoot over a little bit, and so that's the last one. All right, what do I want next? I want my water group. All right, so I need to take the average for that first group. I'm going to scoot back over a little bit. And all right, so I'm going to type in here once again, equals average. And then I can, as soon as I get close, I can just double click on that. It opened my parentheses. And now I'm going to go down and select my range for my water group and shift and close parentheses. So you can see I've got that and enter. There we go. So it's selected from B19 down to B35, which is the correct range. So I'm going to Control C, copy that, and then Control V, paste. And if you look over, you can see that I am switching over 1 column each time. Control V. Ooh, that was a complete number. Control V, Control V, Control V. I'm going to scoot over so I can get to my whole range. Control V and Control V. All right, so that's looking good so far. I've got my averages. Well, the next thing I think I'm probably going to want at some point are my standard deviations. Okay, so how am I going to get this to automatically calculate a standard deviation? So equals, whoops, I don't want it there yet. I'm going to do my sucrose standard deviations and equals, and I'm going to start typing ST, now I can see them. So here, standard deviation, that's the standard deviation for a entire population. Now, in this lab, we don't take the entire population, we take a sample of the population. You're not doing all the students in the lab, you're doing some of the students in the lab. So we're going to take the standard deviation of a sample, and I'm going to double click that, and it automatically opens up my open parentheses. I'm going to go over and I'm going to select my data range for my 0 minutes for my sugar group, my 15% sucrose, and I'm going to shift parentheses, close the parentheses, and that's my standard deviation. So it would be that number plus or minus 7.9. Right. So now I'm going to Control C, copy that. And I'm going to, actually, I think I can just select the whole range and Control V, and it pasted it in. Where's the range? Okay, yeah, it's just giving me a warning, and I'm going to ignore that warning. All right. So that's for, and I think that was for all of them. Yeah. And now I'm going to do the water standard deviation. So again, equals ST, and now I can see my standard deviation for my sample. I'm going to double click it. So, 2 quick clicks. And now I have to select all of my water group. So my water group, and then if I go back up, I got all my water group in there, close parentheses, and there it is. And then I can just Control C, copy that, and go all the way across and Control V, and you can see that it's going over one column at a time. All right, so I've got all my information. Let me go in here and make sure I know that that's standard deviation, just so I remember what that row is. All right, so I have my averages and my standard deviations, and that little, there are numbers adjacent to it, but those are from the water group, so I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, now we have to create a chart. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the two things that I want, the main things that I want to graph on that chart, and I'm going to insert. What kind of chart do I want? Well, this is over time, so I'm going to want to insert a line chart, and I just want the basic one where they're right up next to each other. All right, whew, look, we have a chart. We're not going to end there, but I'm going to end this first video quickly, and we'll pick up with formatting this chart later on.